Hello again. So today we're going to continue our discussion of verb tenses based on, again, Understanding and Using English Grammar by Betty Azar, um, oops, 5th edition. So if you don't have this book, that's probably okay, but it's a useful source. Another useful source, if you are watching these videos, is this book, which is English Verb Tenses, which is a book that I wrote, and in it you can find more information about the verb tenses we'll explain in these videos, and it's free. So if you are interested in getting a copy, you can download a copy for free onto your computer by Googling my name. If you Google Kent, or if you do a search for Kent Uchiyama, doesn't have to be Google, it could be Yahoo or Google or any search engine. But if you Google Kent Uchiyama verb tenses, you'll find the book, and you can download it and get even more information about the verb tenses that we'll be talking about. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about past perfect progressive. So I'm going to talk about three different things. First, how do I make past perfect progressive? The second thing we'll talk about is, what does past perfect progressive mean? And the third thing we'll talk about is, when should I use past perfect progressive? So let's start with, how do I make past perfect progressive? So the way that I make past perfect progressive is like this. I use had plus been plus verb ing. So let's do an example sentence. I might say, Mary, and then I have had, been, and then verb ing. Mary had been watching TV when the earthquake happened. Oops, I think I need to get a new marker. Well, let's say when the earthquake started. So, here again, I have had and been and verb ing. And we still need to talk about, what does this mean? But this is how I make it. Let's do another example. I might say, again, I would have, every time I use past perfect progressive, I'm going to use had plus been, oops, plus verb ing. So, again, I might say, Ralph, and then I have had, been, and what was Ralph doing? Let's say he was studying. So Ralph had been studying. When Mary called. Okay, so here, had been watching, had been studying are both examples of past perfect progressive. And again, past perfect progressive uses had and been and verb ing. Now, to make a negative statement, very easy. I just add the word not. So let's say Mary wasn't watching TV. Maybe she was cooking. So if I want to say, no, not watching TV, I just add the not after the word had. And I could say, Mary had not been watching TV when the earthquake started. So very easy to make it negative. Take a look at this next sentence. Ralph had been studying when Mary called. Let's say, no, Ralph was not studying. Maybe he was, what was he doing? Maybe he was, I don't know, washing the car or doing the laundry, but not studying. Think for a minute and ask yourself, how would I make this sentence negative? How would I make it negative? If you want to take a moment, pause the video and then come back. Okay, so Ralph had been studying when Mary called. When I want to make past perfect progressive negative, I just add not after the word had. So here I say, okay, here's had. I'll add the word not right after it. So I get, Ralph had not been studying when Mary called. He had been washing the car or doing the laundry. Okay. Now, if you want more examples, again, there are a lot of them in this book. Oops, there you go. Okay. So, let's talk about one more way. How do I make a question using past perfect progressive? Okay, so for most verb tenses in English, or let's say this another way, for all verb tenses in English that have more than one word. So here I see past perfect progressive has 1, 2, 3 words. It uses had, it uses been, it uses verb ing. So it has 3 words. Any verb tense in English that has more than one word, and this one has 3, make any verb tense in English with more than one word makes a question the same way. I take the first word of the verb and I move it in front of the subject. So if I want to make a question, I take had out here and I put had here at the beginning. I move it in front of the subject. And so the question becomes, had Mary been watching TV when the earthquake started? Okay. And if I want to ask a different kind of question, had Mary been watching TV when the earthquake started is a yes-no question. It can be answered yes or no. Had Mary been watching TV when the earthquake started? Yes. Had Mary been watching TV when the earthquake started? No. So this is a yes-no question. If I want to ask a different kind of question, then I can put a question word here in front. So for example, if I want to know the reason that Mary was watching TV, I could say why had Mary been watching TV when the earthquake started? Or if I wanted to know the place, I could say where had Mary been watching TV when the earthquake started? Okay, so if I want to make a different kind of question, I can put the question word in front. Now, let's try this with the other sentence. Ralph had been studying when Mary called. First thing is, would you think for a moment and change this sentence into a yes-no question? Make it into a yes-no question where the answer will be yes or no. If you want a moment to think, you can pause the video. Okay, I imagine you're done. So if you'll remember, the way I make a yes-no question is I take the first word of the verb, if the verb has more than one word, and I move it to the front. So I take had, the first word of the verb, and I move it to the front. And I get, had Mary been watching TV when the earthquake called? So when the earthquake called, when the earthquake started. So here I do the same thing. I take had and I move it to the front. So if you said, had Ralph been studying when Mary called? And if you put a question mark at the end, then you're absolutely perfect. Had Ralph been studying when Mary called? And again, take a moment and make this a question that asks about the place. Again, if you want to pause. Here, this is a yes-no question. Had Ralph been studying when Mary called? But take this yes-no question and make it a question about the place that Ralph was studying. Again, you can pause the video if you want a moment to think. Okay, so again, when I want to make another kind of question, I put the question word here in front. So if I want to ask a question about a place, then I use the word where. And I might say, where had Ralph been studying when Mary called? Okay. So I hope that's helpful. I hope that's useful. And let's see how long we've got here. Maybe I should divide this up into more than one video so that they're easier to watch. I think I'll do that, as a matter of fact. So I'm going to end this video here, and the next video that we have will be explaining what does past perfect progressive mean. We've talked about how we make it. We use had plus been plus verb ing. To make a yes-no question, I move had in front. To make it negative, I add not after had. If you want to review, you can watch this video again. Also, again, there are a lot more examples in this book, so highly recommend it. Google my name, verb tenses, you'll find it. And it's free, it's great. Okay, I'll be back in a moment and we'll explain what does past perfect progressive mean.